If you are watching this video, it's no coincidence. What you are experiencing right now is not a crisis. You feel something changing within you, but you don't know what. Perhaps you don't recognize yourself anymore. Perhaps some relationships are becoming heavy. Perhaps you are asking yourself questions you never dared to ask before. This inner fatigue, this feeling of disconnection, this impression that nothing resonates with you anymore, are the first signs of an awakening. And you ask yourself, what is happening to me? The truth is that what you call a crisis is actually the beginning of an inner awakening. The principle is that awakening does not begin with light, it begins with disturbance. It is the sign of a spiritual awakening, and the fourth sign is what most people mistake for a collapse. Stay attentive until the end. You will never look at your experiences the same way again. What if what you are experiencing right now wasn't a crisis? What if this feeling of disconnection, this need for solitude, this impression that nothing resonates with you anymore, were the first signs of a spiritual awakening? Perhaps you don't recognize yourself anymore. Perhaps some people are drifting away. Perhaps you are asking yourself questions you never dared to ask before, and you ask yourself, what is happening to me? The truth is, when the spirit begins to awaken, the old inner world begins to collapse. The Bible calls this a renewal. Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, the renewal of the mind. That's where it all begins. Psychology speaks of individuation. Mental programming speaks of reconfiguration. But few people explain what this actually looks like. In this video, you will discover 7 clear signs that your spiritual awakening has already begun. And you will see that psychology, faith, and personal transformation converge on the same truth. Awakening begins within. And the fourth sign is the most upsetting. Stay attentive. Because what you perceive as chaos could be the beginning of your transformation. The first sign is simple and bewildering. You're changing. What once attracted you no longer excites you. What once passionated you no longer appeals to you. Your reactions are no longer the same. You observe your thoughts and reactions as if they are no longer your own. Jung calls this individuation, becoming who you truly are. The moment when we begin to become ourselves instead of what the world expects. The Bible says it differently in 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. A new creation, but before being new, the old must be let go, and that is uncomfortable. But that's just the beginning, because the second sign is even more disturbing. Do you recognize yourself in this sign? If so, make a mental note of what you feel. You'll need it later. Sometimes, during a spiritual awakening, you may look in the mirror and feel as if you no longer recognize the person looking back at you. This is the dismantling of your old self. The beliefs, habits, and identities that once defined you begin to dissolve. This can be disorienting, as if you are standing in an empty space where your sense of identity once was. But this emptiness is not a void to be feared. It is the fertile ground from which a new, more authentic version of yourself will emerge. Before transformation, there is always a moment of emptiness, a pause before the fullness of your true identity begins to take shape. Sign number 2, you sense inconsistencies, the masks, the manipulations. You can no longer stand superficial conversations. You become hypersensitive to lies, to pretenses, to superficial conversations. Freud explains that the unconscious rises to the surface and illusions fall. And John 8:32 says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But be careful, before it frees you, the truth disturbs. And here is the paradox. The more awake you are, the more out of sync you are with what surrounds you. Yes, that's why you sometimes feel out of place. And this discrepancy will intensify with the third sign, because the third sign will isolate you, but not to punish you. It is one of the most striking signs of spiritual awakening, this hypersensitivity to everything that rings false. As if you have developed an inner truth detector, you immediately sense when something does not resonate with your authenticity. Lies, half-truths, or even hidden intentions suddenly become obvious. But this ability is not always comfortable. Faced with cognitive dissonance, when what you hear does not match what you feel, a deep unease sets in. You can no longer ignore what rings false, even if everyone around you pretends not to see anything. This sharp feeling pushes you to seek authenticity, to surround yourself with people and situations that vibrate in accordance with your inner truth. This is a sign that your awakening has indeed begun. The third sign is the one everyone flees: solitude. Not an escape, but a preparation, a necessity. You need silence, distance, space. God speaks in silence, as in Hosea 2:14. I will lead her into the desert and speak to her heart. In the Bible, the desert is never a punishment. It is a preparation. Jung would say, it is the confrontation with your shadow. What you take for isolation is a mandatory phase of your awakening. But wait, what comes next, the fourth sign, frightens the most. It changes everything you thought you knew about yourself. So solitude often becomes an essential step in spiritual awakening. The desert, with its silent immensity, acts as a true sanctuary. It is in this space, stripped of distractions, that one can finally hear the inner voice. Granting oneself a retreat, even a brief one, allows one to reconnect with oneself, observe one's thoughts, and cultivate inner peace. The desert symbolizes this fertile void where the soul can grow, far from the tumult of the world. Embracing solitude means offering your mind the opportunity to fully awaken. The fourth sign is what many mistake for a loss of control. Your thoughts race endlessly, you question everything, you observe your patterns, your fears, your limiting beliefs. Sometimes you wonder if you're losing control. But here's what few understand. Richard Bandler explains that our brain operates on internal programming, scripts installed since childhood. And when awakening begins, these scripts resurface. The Bible already stated it in Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What you call chaos is in reality a reprogramming. Renewal equals reprogramming. It's not a loss of control, it's an update. This update will cause a crisis. And the surprise, it's exactly this sign that prepares your inner call, sign 5. When you enter sacred solitude, you might hope to find instant calm. Instead, you are often confronted with a mental storm, thoughts racing, doubts and questions swirling with relentless intensity. Everything you once accepted without question suddenly becomes uncertain. Am I really happy in my job? Is this relationship right for me? Who am I beneath all these layers? The sheer force of this mental activity can feel overwhelming, as if your mind is in chaos, spinning at full speed. But this storm is not destructive. It's a powerful reevaluation. Your mind isn't breaking, it's awakening, seeking clarity. For so long, your thoughts have been on autopilot, shaped by old patterns and beliefs. Today, your inner system is rebooting, examining every idea, discarding what no longer fits. The mental storm is the sound of your inner world being dismantled, making way for something truer and more authentic. This isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. The secret is to stop identifying with the storm and become the observer. You are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness observing them, stable and clear. Every question you dare to ask, every belief you challenge, is a step towards freedom. Each time you choose gratitude or envision a meaningful life, you rewrite your mental code, reprogramming your mind for growth and clarity. This is the engine of your transformation. Intense, sometimes noisy, but ultimately powerful, guiding you towards a new, clearer reality that you yourself have created. Sign 5. This is where many panic. Everything seems unstable. Tony Robbins says, change happens when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. You start to feel that there is something greater for you. You refuse mediocrity. Bob Proctor calls this a paradigm, and yours is cracking. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you." The world seems to be cracking around you, but it's so your life can take on new meaning. As your spiritual journey unfolds, you may feel a persistent sense that there's something greater calling you, an inner pull that refuses to be ignored. This is the soul's deep dissatisfaction, a silent yet powerful desire for meaning beyond the surface of everyday life. It's as if the old structures of your beliefs and identity are being carefully dismantled, piece by piece, in a controlled demolition. You may notice that old patterns, relationships, or ambitions are crumbling, making way for something new. While this process may seem unsettling, it is necessary for the birth of a new purpose, in alignment with your most authentic self. In the ruins of what once was, you begin to feel the foundations of a more authentic life taking shape, guided by a calling that is uniquely your own. The sixth sign, the inner crisis. This is perhaps the strongest sign. Awakening is not gentle, it breaks. Freud spoke of resistance. Every transformation encounters inner resistance, but crisis is a door. The Bible speaks of transformation and purification. Isaiah 43:19. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Chaos always precedes creation. Chaos is not failure. You begin to believe that your life is not accidental. It is a door to the seventh sign, but the last sign is the most paradoxical. The sixth sign is perhaps one of the most intense. You feel such intense tension that everything within you seems about to break. It's the friction between the person you were and the person you are becoming. This resistance is not a failure, but proof that change is underway. Like two tectonic plates meeting, the apparent chaos prepares the birth of something great. Your inner crisis is the tectonics of your soul. Understanding this means realizing that this battle pits your old protection system against your new consciousness. This inner desert is where God, the universe, is paving a new path for you. It's not a step backward, but the demolition of your old mental prisons. Welcome this chaos as proof that your new creation is about to blossom. In a gym, resistance builds muscle. Your inner resistance works the same way. For a seed to become a tree, it must first break open. It's uncomfortable, because you are no longer the seed, but not yet the tree. Offer yourself the same gentleness you would offer a dear friend going through a hard time. The universe asks you, how much do you truly want this new life? Yes, I choose growth. Yes, I choose light even if I must first walk through darkness. Here is the seventh and final sign, the most subtle and profound of all. The appearance of a paradoxical peace, an unexpected serenity even in the heart of the storm. Even when everything changes around you, a deep calm settles within. Chaos may reign outside, but within you, a silent lake remains, still. Where one would expect fear or anxiety, you feel a deep trust. It is a peace that surpasses understanding, a quiet certainty that everything is in its rightful place. Imagine the eye of a hurricane. All around the storm rages, but at its center, there is absolute calm. Philippians 4:7 says, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds." Everything changes around you, but your inner center becomes stable. And if you feel this, then your awakening has begun. Spiritual awakening invites you to live in this inner space, in the heart of change. Emotions and events become like clouds crossing the sky of your consciousness, without disturbing your peace. This peace is rooted in a fundamental trust in life, a deep faith that everything has meaning, even in uncertainty. It is not an intellectual conviction, but a visceral sensation. You are guided, protected, carried. It is the whisper of your soul, even amidst change. All is well. You are safe. Keep moving forward. As we reach the end of this episode, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've experienced together. We've explored 7 powerful signs that mark the beginning of your spiritual awakening. From the feeling of no longer recognizing yourself to that hypersensitivity to what is false. From the need for solitude to inner restlessness. From the call to something greater to the inner crisis. All the way to that paradoxical peace that settles in. These signs are not mere coincidences. They reveal a profound convergence between modern psychology, ancient spiritual wisdom, and the principles of neuro-linguistic programming. Spiritual awakening is not reserved for an elite or for exceptional moments. It is a real psychological and neurological process. It's a reprogramming of your subconscious, a deconstruction of your ego, and a deep reconstruction of your identity on more authentic and solid foundations. This work touches the mind, the soul, and the body. Jung, Freud, the Bible, neuroscience, all converge toward this same truth. To be reborn into a new consciousness, the old one must first fade away. That's where true reconstruction begins. If awakening is natural and beneficial, why does it so often begin with a crisis? Why does pain seem to precede the light? Why so much confusion and solitude at the threshold of this journey? Is it a universal law, or a psychological necessity? Or is there a depth we have not yet grasped? These questions pave the way for the next part of our exploration. That's what we'll dive into in episode 2. And believe me, what you're about to discover will transform your vision of awakening forever. This is only the first episode in a series that will change how you see yourself and the world. Because awakening is only the beginning. Deep reconstruction is the true journey. This path of transformation awaits you, ready to reveal the most authentic version of yourself. Let yourself be guided through the dark night of the soul, for it is there that rebirth begins. This difficult passage is actually the greatest gift the universe can offer you. This is only the first step of an adventure that will transform your vision of yourself and the world. Awakening is only the beginning. Deep reconstruction and the journey toward your true self begin now. Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss anything. Share the video with someone. Like this video to support the channel. Share your thoughts or experience in the comments.